Well, today is the day of the 2-year auction. It generally brings higher prices, and we are trading up. We'll do our little splits here. Always split London because that's a new market. So we're pointing higher. We like the long side of the market. We liked the long side yesterday. We wanted to buy into weakness overnight in anticipation of a good 2-year auction. We had a buy at 4 to 8. The overnight session low is 8. So we got the direction right, and here we are at resistance. So the 2-year auction is the biggest dynamic that we'll face in the note today. In the 30-year, we do have some news. FHFA housing index up 0.4. Flash PMI at 58.1 and Richmond Fed at 12. So none of this news really moves. The housing index plus 0.4. There was an interesting article out that the next leg of our economic recovery is not capital investment, but will be housing. As people, according to this projection, are moving back into the housing market. And if that turns out to be the case, that is the second leg of the Fed's economic forecast. Now this is the market's flash PMI. It does not carry anywhere the weight that the ISM does. And Richmond Fed at 12. So none of this news is market moving. What's the biggest news out overnight? Well, the war began in Syria, and the Arab states did participate. 8 targets were hit in Syria. The Syrian ambassador was informed of the U.S.'s and the coalition's intentions before the fact. They will be supposed to be a continuous, sustained bombing operation that will go to interrupt command and control, logistics, etc. So we'll see how it plays out. Crude is up off of this news. You never know when the shooting starts. And the reason it's different than it was yesterday, up until yesterday, only the U.S. was doing it. Now, if the 6 countries, Arab nations that were listed, are into it, what happens in their populations? Because the coalition with the West, the Arab coalition with the West, is attacking Muslims. So it's okay for Muslims to attack Muslims, but the fact that they have joined with the West might be problematic in some of these people's countries. So we'll just have to see. You don't know. So when in doubt, at least you don't get short crude oil, and then gold. When the drumbeat of war starts up again or goes to a new level, that's usually supportive for gold, and that's what we're seeing right now. So, where is resistance? Well, resistance is at 20. We've said ever since yesterday that the resting limit sell is at 19 against this high volume number right here. So I think we are going to trade higher. I think we're going to get into this high volume area up here, and the market's going to slow down. So right now, structurally, the trade is to sell 15s to 19s. It's very, very aggressive. Don't like that side of the market. Like the long side much better. But this is resistance right here. And we'll see what happens. On the buy side, we're at 14.5. London's low is 10.5. The breakout was from 12, so this 8 to 12 area is pretty good buy, pretty good support in my opinion. And then we'll make it 5 to 1. Don't see any way that we get down and we bust the 8 level. without some major piece of news, and that piece of news will not come out of our markets today. It'll come out of the Middle East or the Ukraine or someplace like that. Okay, the economic news out of Europe last night was disappointing. Misses all around. Germany's PMI declined. There's talk of Germany moving into a recession on this quarter. The rest of the PIGS nations are generally accepted as already in a recession, so Germany's numbers have been coming in lower than forecast, which leads people to believe that maybe the EU will officially be in a recession here, if not this quarter, by the next. The Russian sanctions are hurting the EU. That's part of it. Definitely hurting Germany. Germany is the biggest investor, outside investor in Russia. And that's why Germany's been the most conciliatory about sanctions against Russia. Okay, the NOB spread widened overnight. Both profiles look similar. Yesterday the NOB spread was sold. So right here we are at resistance. So 7 to 11 will be sell 1. And 15 to 19 will be sell 2. Now, during auctions, markets can't go straight up. They just don't move the paper. There's got to be some back and forth. So I think there will be some back and forth. The breakout basically came from 137, so 28. Maybe stops below 137 will be buy 1. And then buy 2 will be 21 to 25. Don't think today's news has any impact at all on today's trading. I think the 2-year auction will play, and I think ultimately that's what takes this market up. Okay, if the United States and France were the only ones attacking targets in Syria, I don't think that the gold and crude markets would have reacted the way they did. But because the Arab states are doing it, it does bring a different political calculus into play. It's pretty hard to ignore that. So what happens, I mean, they have had riots in Bahrain. Jordan is very, very fragile. Jordan's absorbed a lot of refugees. Qatar usually is pretty quiet. We don't hear anything of riots over there. Saudi Arabia regularly rounds up dissidents. So it's not something that you can do with a guaranteed outcome. It may make the local populations restive. So I think that's probably more behind the buying in gold than anything else. When war starts, gold usually rallies, and so does crude. So we got volume right here. The market was pulled to this number plus some, so our first sell is going to be 35 to 37. If no riots break out in the streets all around the Arab world overnight, this afternoon, which would have been prime time to do it, they might need some time to organize too, then probably settle back down. I still think the long-term direction of gold is lower just because of the composition of the players. But one headline can change things in gold and crude immediately. Okay, this rally started from 25. The breakout was from 28. We've got a low volume number up here at 31, so stops below 30. 28 to 30 will be buy 1. Stops below 25, 23, 25 will be buy 2. The longer there are no riots or civil disruption events, the more likely gold is to drift lower. Now, when you march in the streets in some of these Arab countries, you are putting your life at risk, or at least jail time. And so a lot of it just depends on the local imam, and if they're allowed to go to the microphone and stir up their constituents or followers. And in Saudi Arabia, anyway, the deal has been made. You guys keep your mouth shut inside our country, and you can do anything you want outside the country. In fact, we'll pay you to keep your mouth shut in our country and do something outside of our borders. So if I were going to pick a country over there in that part of the world, I would see what goes on in Bahrain. That would be the first place I would see. That you might see civil disobedience and people marching in to protest what's going on against ISIS or ISIL or whatever, IS, whatever you want to call them. The bad guys, if you don't happen to be a follower or attached to them, if you're conquered by them. Okay, looking at the euro, euro rallied quite a bit. And the dollar's off a little bit. The yen's up and the euro are both up. I don't know if it's on the war. Germany has put themselves on the sideline. We will give humanitarian aid. France is the only one that stepped up to the plate. Britain's been pretty quiet about it. Britain and Australia are counted on to supply a couple of hundred between them SAS troopers to hunt down Jihadi John, I think is what he's been named, the guy that's chopping off or cutting off heads. It's not chop. It's not a clean business. We got this high in London the other night at 29.13. So this 29.10 to 20 area would be sell one, and then 30 to 40 will be sell two. The economic news out of Europe is pretty weak, or much less than forecast. The breakout came at 75, so this 75.85 will be buy one. I'm much more comfortable short. Longer term, I think we have more time to deal with a short than we do a long in this contract. But right now it's pointed up, so definitely some short covering. And because of the war effort, the war escalating, the dollar is off today with the EU and with the Japanese yen. And I think it's more of that than anything that has changed fundamentally in Europe. The EU. They're in a tough spot. I mean, Brussels will fight as hard as Washington, D.C. will to maintain their power and their control over the economies. And I mean, there is a specification for any and every product that's sold anywhere or manufactured anywhere in the EU. So their bureaucracy, the hold on their economies is much greater than it is in the United States, which leads to slower economic growth. United States, our Treasury Department, who does not write tax law, has just made changes in the law to make inversions. Very, very tough to do. There'll be an economic penalty if you do it. You know, they won't build a fence around America to keep the illegal immigrants out, but they'll build a fence around America to keep the corporations in. I mean, it is so. It's just hard to believe that we've gotten to this point, but here we are. Okay, crude oil is up, but it hasn't rallied like gold has, and what that tells me is that the supply of crude is not threatened, and in fact it just became less threatened. But when the shooting starts, you don't find sellers in crude. I mean buyers, but you find the lack of selling, and I think that's where we are right now. So here we are at resistance, 75 to 92. Sounds like yesterday, right? sell 1. And 25 to 50, sell 2. On the buy side, I like this 90.75 area, buy 1. And then 25 to 50 for buy 2. Pretty hard to see us getting to buy 2 until we see what shakes out. And I'm going to put a question mark right here in this 25 area. If we come down and we can't crack this number here, then we're going to have to pay up to get long, and we'll move ourselves up accordingly. Okay, it was pretty interesting. In Zero Hedge, they said equities around the globe sold for the right reasons. Bad news took equities lower. China, HSBC's widely anticipated guess below 50 number for their PMI for China came in higher than forecast. So China rallied, but Hong Kong, Japan, and the rest of the world sold, including the United States. So the Chinese number was not as bad as forecast. And I think we need to go to the F1 screen here to take a look at this first. Utah, I'm not going to try to slide this thing higher. Unbelievably sensitive. Okay. We had highlighted this low volume number in the 81 area. We've got our tractor down here at 68, so we've got this. If we bust 80 right here, structurally, we've got support at, say, 69 to 71. We've got the tractor down here at 68. We've got the breakout from 62, and then we have down here in the 55 area. So this 55 to 72 area is pretty good support, and we've got the round number at 75. So it looks like to me we are headed lower. Yesterday the analysis said that we were headed lower. Yesterday afternoon we said as long as we stayed below 90 we wanted to be short. In the wrap-up, I think our trading target is 68 if this 81 becomes resistance. So let's put our first buy will be at the round number at 75. It will cause a bounce in this area. But I think the key number or the level for us right here is this 81.50. We can stay beneath that, then this market's got a good chance to sell, and our 70.72 will be buy 2. I don't think today's news has any impact on the market. We'll be looking for 50-lot players. The spill was from 83 right up here, so 84, 86 will be sell 1. And that's on the assumption we can get through 82.50. I will have to put a question mark here at 82.50. And then our, we really probably don't want to be short if we get back up to the 90 area, but 89 to 91 should have some wiggle room there if it does get that high. The only thing that I could see holding the market today would be support by the Fed, and that could happen. So I think that 70 area plus or minus represents the best buy. There's a lot of stuff that comes together down there, 68 to the 72 area. So 70 plus or minus looks like the best buy to me starting out this morning. Okay, I put nothing to print. It'll take at least 20 minutes to get everything up and posted and around. I'm going to get busy on that right now. Be back with you as soon as possible.